afternoon, everyone. I hope you all had a refreshing high tea break. Welcome back to the post-break sessions of PRISM-FIMC 2025 conference. We have an exciting lineup for the afternoon. And I, Dr. Chetna Batra from IILM University, Gurugram, am delighted to be your MC from this point forward. You all are requested to take your seats so that we can begin on time. We now begin with a corporate panel discussion, session 1, on the topic, Evolution of Leaders and Leadership in the Age of Rapid Technological Disruption. This session examines how leadership is evolving in an era defined by rapid technological disruption. The industry leaders will be discussing the new competencies, mindsets, and adaptive behaviors required to navigate digital transformation. The panel will offer insights into how leaders can remain effective, agile, and future-ready in a continuously changing environment. For this session, it is my pleasure to invite the moderator of the session, Dr. C. Jayakumar, Executive VP and CHRO, Larsen & Toubro. Can we have you on stage, sir? And our distinguished panelist, Mr. Anurag Malik, partner and India leader, People Consulting EY. A warm round of applause for them. Ms. Rashmi Govil, Director HR, Indian Oil. Mr. Yuvraj Srivastav, Group Chief Human Resource Officer, Make My Trip. And Mr. Amit Malik, President Watts Pay, Japan, Asia, Pacific, and Australia. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome them all with a warm round of applause. Over to you, Dr. Jayakumar.
Yeah. Good afternoon. What a lovely time to start a panel discussion of 1 hour. Extremely happy to be here. It was a wonderful session in the morning. Really, lot of takeaways. Each one spoke extremely well, and it was so engaging. And thanks, PRISM-FIMC Foundation, Dwarka ji for inviting us, as well as requesting me to moderate this panel with such a eminent panelist. Only one thing I was very happy when I was invited is I am the moderator. So moderator has to only ask questions where HR people are good at asking questions. So I need not answer any complicated answers. Though during the morning discussions I was just reflecting about Dr. PRISM-FIMC, the man with Midas touch. He was called as a turnaround director. Much was spoken about being inclusive, people-oriented, managing change, bringing Indian values and ethos into the management. Lot has been spoken. And very aptly, they have given a topic for our discussion, evolution of leaders and leadership in the age of rapid technological disruption. So just now, some TV channel asked me, what is one thing it is troubling you? And he was talking about change. Spontaneously came that which is much long time we have been telling, nothing is constant but change. And I also remembered of Jack Welch, who said long term before, if the rate of change outside is more than the rate of change inside, then the end is near. So organization has to be very constantly look at what is happening outside, and they have to keep changing. It was so long back, but still true, but only thing the rate of change has become very, very fast. Generally, I saw one statistics, the aircrafts took some 64 years to get 1 million customers. Then it comes down, and somewhere computers was some 14 years, then some Facebook, some 6 years or 7 years, and the Pokemon Go took 9 weeks, and ChatGPT took 2 weeks. So that is the speed in which change is happening. So we have to keep running faster and faster and to remain where it is. So in this panel discussion, I quickly discussed with them, and we thought of looking at 4 broad areas. One is in terms of agility, how organization has to handle. Second area, we thought of this disruption in technology happening. How are you going to handle this disruption? How organizations are taking care of this? In this, lot of learning, skilling, etc. is required. How we are grappling with that. And with both together, there is very interesting thing of hybrid working, work from home, and somebody says work for home, whatever, there's a lot of thing happening. So how are we going to handle this and how organizations are doing? And last but not the least, even our chief guest was speaking about how are we going to develop future leaders? How are you going to manage succession? How are you managing transition? Things are changing fast and complex. So we'll start with agility. Let me start with Madam first. How are you building leadership resilience in your organization when things are changing so fast? How are you managing it?
When we talk of resilience, and especially in the context of change, I think resilience is one trait. It's not working out loud in the mic. Thank you. So when we are talking of resilience, and especially in the dynamics of change, resilience is one leadership trait which becomes extremely critical, because change also, change is a force which is moving, and it's moving at a pace where you can crash if you are not riding the wave of change. So that is why resilience helps you absorb the change, and resilience helps you ride the wave of change successfully. So how we are doing it is, in Indian Oil, thankfully we are a company which is a pan-India organization, where we are into multiple roles, multiple functions, multiple geographies. So we believe experience in handling challenges head-on builds good amount of resilience, and the capacity of the organization to support failures also builds resilience. Because if you are supporting failures, that means the individual has this feeling that the company has their back. And when you have that, then resilience starts seeping in, the capacity to take on challenges starts coming in. So what we do is that we do a lot of job rotations. Somebody in sales today may be a part of operations tomorrow, may be a part of logistics on another day. And we have seen that the job rotations build a good amount of capacity to take change, to build resilience. And we've also seen that if we give room and a long rope for initial failures, the capacity to take risk increases, which is again goes hand in hand in building resilience. So I think this is primarily a very good tool that we are using for building resilience.
Wonderful. Resilience is required for managing the ride the wave of change, and she brought in failure as a very, very managing failures is a very, very important concept. There should not be a fear of failure so that people can take calculated risk. And then only thing is, we also do in L&T tell the same thing, but only thing is they should not repeat the same failure. They should learn from those failures and see that how do they important in this. Now from MakeMyTrip.com, how are you handling it? It's a technology-based organization. Things are moving so fast.
The sooner we get how to handle mic on the platform, better it is. I think, finally when you are switching it, it's supposed to be switched for 10 seconds, then it picks up. But what happens, we do it for 5 seconds and we leave it. When we again go, then while we are doing it, it gets switched off. So I got it, right? So, okay. So I think Make My Trip, what I have seen, Jay, resilience is one way, definitely, as Rashmi ji is saying, that, rotate people. Other, what I have seen is that people always get affected a lot by the type of people they are working with. If I am working in A role, and I move to B role to work with a different leader or manager, perhaps I'll do my learning. But what we try to do it is that instead of really changing two things for an individual, role and a manager both, try to change one thing. And one thing is that you be in the same role, but look at people at a mid-level and a top level moving to different roles, so that at least people who are slightly still in the learning phase at a junior or a mid-level are not disrupted for their role delivery, and they are given exposure in the same role with a new type of a leader who can really bring in different perspectives. So that is one way of really driving resilience within the organization. And other, what I have also seen is that resilience starts seeping, going down, if people are not given right feedback at the right time. And naturally, culturally, most of the Indian organizations would be very, or the managers would be wary of really calling spade a spade or giving a feedback. We keep training people to give right feedback, but finally, when we try to train people to do feedback, we are not in position to communicate that how the feedback should be given. And what I have seen, that young generation leaders or even the leaders who are in the 40 to 45 years of age, people are looking for the right feedback and a guidance. So our focus also is to really give feedback and tell people what exactly is happening with them in terms of their career, is that you build resilience. And third point is that all your high performing people in the organization needs to have done a couple of fix-it assignments or a critical experience which brings them out of their comfort zone. So fix-it assignment, if there is a problem in a particular geography, in a particular business line, can you really pick up somebody to really move to a different role and go and fix it and come back, sort of a thing. And at the same time, also give critical experiences to people, which brings the whole cycle of learning together. So clearly, I think, don't move two things together. Move one aspect, build resilience. Second is, give very clear and a candid feedback to people with the help of guidance. And third, clearly, as I said, that ensure that your top performers are getting exposed to critical fix-it assignments, and not that they are getting hoarded by the leaders within their own function, which impacts their overall capacity to handle crisis at a later point of time. So these are few things what we would really do it in the Make My Trip environment.
Absolutely, I agree with you. The question of continuous feedback or a candid feedback has been repeatedly discussed again and again, but still it has to. Right from the day of our college, we have started talking about it. Still, we are talking about it. It is one area. Moving out of comfort zone and giving them a critical experience is really, that is how you build leaders. You put them inside, give them feedback, and then take them up. Slightly, we are getting into only resilience. I want to shift slightly towards the change. We have a company vision, then we have a strategy. Based on strategy, we have a structure, then process, rewards, etc. Now, with so much of things changing, as a consultant, how do you help clients to manage that change? What is, you're from a consultant lens, let us hear you.
I'll stay with the theme of resilience as I'm answering your question, Dr. CGK. My experience of late has been that there is too much of focus that leaders have or organizations have around building more resilient leaders, right? There's so much of focus on individuals. Um, I think the focus also needs to be on building resilient organizations. In fact, I almost feel when I meet a lot of clients and I'm trying to understand what are they trying to do, what's the issue, they talk about the fact that, we want to build more resilient leaders. They need to be able to handle failures and with their chin up, they need to bounce back, and the examples that are given are people who've bounced back from multiple crises. I mean, that's great, that's there to celebrate. But my sense is that's not resilience, that's endurance. A lot of organizations are confusing resilience with endurance. Sorry to use the word, but if somebody says I've taken a lot of shit, it's getting confused as resilience. It's endurance. My sense has been, and I mean, being a consultant, I get to learn from a lot of organizations every day, is that it's more important to build more resilient organizations. What does a resilient organization means? Resilient organization means that the factors, let's say processes, if there are processes in the organization that are building the stress, if there are decision-making styles where leaders are changing decisions, if there's too much of focus on outcomes, I think that needs to evolve. It's building more about building resilient organizations as against building resilient leaders only. Also, let me not be dismissive about, I mean, building resilient leaders is a very, very significant area to focus on. I think the same principles apply when it comes to building resilient leaders also. That, are you helping leaders focus on uncover challenges that the teams are facing? Help release their energy, help guide decisions rather than only focusing on outcomes. I think that's core to building resilience in an organization and in teams.
Thank you, Anurag. I would request Amit, how are you managing change within your organization? How are you managing the structure? How are you managing the processes? How are you looking at how your business will be there after 10 years, 5 years? What is that you are doing looking at it?
So, I come from an industry where change is more or less seen as chaos. Right? We've all grown up to say we will manage change, but the amount of chaos that is disrupting today, chaos is there that takes place because of being in a fintech or an organization that is very fast moving. It leads to a lot of chaos. And I think one thing that stands out in an organization is the clarity of the purpose. As long as you have clarity of purpose and everyone understands what the purpose of the organization is, it then becomes the beacon for the organization to navigate, whether it's change, whether it's chaos, or navigate that. And when you start to navigate that, a couple of things come to the mind. One is, like Anurag said, it's not only about the individual, but also the ecosystem that the organization provides to manage and understand that change, that chaos that is happening around. A lot of times we focus on individuals and leaders to manage that and understand that change, but it's for the organization also to assimilate that and say they will not deviate from their purpose for a short-term gain or a medium-term gain and focus on the long term, because that then provides the clarity to everyone else to say, while we have a dip, while there is something that's not going as per the plan, how do we overcome that? I think that's number one. Second is, when you talk about resilience, and something that Rashmi touched upon, is also about how do you build in about celebrating the failures. It's not going to be success, but do you have a culture where you celebrate failures rather than recognizing them? I think that's important, because that also gives confidence to the people to try out new things to take you out of this whole piece of the storm or the turmoil that you are in. Because in an industry like ours, there could be a regulatory change or a discussion that happens which just disrupts the whole product roadmap or the roadmap that you've set for yourself. So I think they've all said, but these 2 points I wanted to bring forward.
Wonderful. That I really liked the clarity of purpose. Once the final goal is ready, whatever change happens, automatically people will align towards that. That's a wonderful thing. When Rashmi said there should not be a fear of failure, he goes one step ahead and says you have to celebrate failures so that we not only learn, but people have the thing. Now let us slowly shift gears towards technology now. Too much of disruption is happening. And somebody said whether it's an opportunity or it is a threat. And when in one of our sessions, one of the speaker was asking that, and then most of them said it's an opportunity. Suddenly he said, you're all wrong. Then he said, how organization should look at, then he said it should be looked at as an opportunity as well as a threat. Then everybody was very curious why we should look at opportunity as that. He said, when you look at it as an opportunity, you will do strategic plan, you will think how to do and all those things. When you look at it as a threat, you will act immediately. Because, so if you take too much of time, technology keeps changing. Amazing, amazing. Certain things today, even today morning, every time I go to the airport off late, you walk like how you walk inside with the Digiyatra. Amazing, right? The way it has moved. More than that, I stay in Mumbai in a place called Hiranandani Pavai. In the corner, there is a pawn shop. And I was told he does business in crores. Evening 8:30, if you go there, it's very difficult to go inside. And you can only hear somebody say gold flake kings, egg pawn, this. The person in the counter doesn't even look at the face. He just keeps on giving. And that fellow swipes it and goes. Who swipes it? And you can only hear a voice, Amitabh Bachchan voice, 22 rupees has come, 30 rupees has come, like that. So see the way in technology. Undoubted technology is required. Every organization is grappling with it. But how do you manage this change? How are you skilling, reskilling, and making adoption of this change in your organization, which is most of the organization grappling with? Let us start with Amit and then move forward. We'll focus on how. No doubt that technology is required. We have to adopt, otherwise it's a treadmill world, we'll go back. But you have 4 generations of people in your organization. How are you managing it?
I think technology has moved from being a competency to a capability now in the organization. And that's how you have to look at it. When you look at it as capability, then you look at it as saying, how do you upskill people to understand technology? And most important is, how do you demystify technology for the non-tech profile of your organization? Because technology, the first thing when you talk about technology is it's going to be very complex. It's something people are inherently not very comfortable with or not have grown up with in a multi-generational workforce. So how do you demystify that? How do you simplify that for your workforce who are non-tech people and help them to understand what are the trends and how do you then get them to adapt? That's the first part. The second is, after the understanding, how do you then start to do a focused skill program? It's always fashionable to say everyone should know artificial intelligence. But to be able to decipher what kind of people need to know how much of artificial intelligence is the secret sauce. Not everyone has to be a 10 out of 10 on a scale. There are some parts of an organization which are good enough to be 3 or 4 on a scale of 10, and there are some who need to be between 8 to 10. How do you differentiate that and then provide those skills to those people, makes it more relevant for everybody, and then also takes them to the next step of willingly to apply. And I think that for me is the big thing.
Do you want to go next? Yeah, please, Yuvraj.
Because you had...
He spoke about, one is demystifying it, then focus on this and don't paintbrush everybody together. Look at each of the profile or role, how much of technology is required according to you provide the training. Wonderful.
So, I think there is a word which we use, Jay, interchangeably, perhaps. The context needs to be different. When we are talking about disruption is for the business models. Disruption is for the ways of working. And when it comes to bringing in aids to do your business better, that's not disruption, that's enablement. So we would always like to do is keep an eye on a set of people who are lagging and who are not keen to learn. There is a time when you take a call on those people and get right set of people in the organization. Second is the people who are definitely showing higher learning agility and ability to manage resilience and technological disruptions. I think keep giving them triggers to do better and better and better. And create a system and environment wherein doing things in a newer way with the help of innovation, with the help of a technology is rewarded, and you are in position to really figure out in the corners of the organization where the inefficiencies are lying and people who are not changing. Because finally, in this case, in such cases, it's important for you to drive incentives and rewards for people who have really kept their pace of learning higher as compared to others. And as I said clearly, it's important for people to really continue to be in the race rather than trying to enter late in the race. And that's why it's important today when we are talking about AI. People who have been familiar with the technology, done many things in the past, would be very comfortable. Now AI has also reached to a stage which is saying that I don't think that you need to be an engineer and a coder, right? If you can write a good prompt, perhaps you get an answer, everything is at the back and it pulls you out. So things have become interesting, things have become far more technologically driven, but in this whole process you may still find people who will not be changing to learn this. If they are not, then perhaps it's an organization, if it's a going concern, one has to continue to look at people who are learning Agile and people who are not learning Agile and complacent in the process. That's how I look at it.
Great. One thing which I will correct myself, will not call technology disruption. Now, Yuvraj has told it is technology enablement. Wonderful. Next is learning agility is very important. Make them learn. If they are reluctant to learn, identify them and take proper action. Otherwise, they will pull the entire thing. Before I move to, I was attending, I think I remember it's a SHRM conference where Mr. Shivkumar was sitting in the context. In between, he said, in future, he talks about future, all aircraft will have one person and one dog. Pilots are not required. Everybody becomes curious, pilots not required, because everything will become automated. It will now itself 50%, 70% it is automated. Future, there will be one person and one dog is required. I was very curious. He said, one person is required because to give the confidence for all the people sitting in the flight that somebody is there in the thing. Then I was wondering why the dog is required. So dog is required to ensure that the person doesn't touch any of the instrument there, it seems. So that is how the automation technology is moving in such a fast pace. Now coming to Rashmi ma'am, any technological change you have implemented and how do you manage change? Any practical examples in Indian Oil?
Before I go to the practical example, I'd like to say a few things on technology and the way I look at it. See, suddenly, in HR, we are very fond of making noises around certain subjects. And technology has always been a tool in the hands of humans. It's always been an enabler. And all of us have grown with technology. I mean, all of us saw the advent of computers in a big way. All of us saw the advent of mobiles and whatnot. And we've all naturally grown with it. But suddenly now we are talking of technology as if, we are living the times of human versus technology, technology versus human, as if we are out to make another Terminator 4 or something. But the point that I'm trying to make is that, it's always the back of human is behind technology. And when a human is behind technology, the human is going to be controlling technology. But the conversations which we are having now, it seems that technology is controlling humans. Probably there is a disconnect there. And as far as, see the people today are very technology conscious. So they naturally are always on their toes to adapt what is new. And there is less of a fear what it used to be maybe a decade or so back on adoption of technology. So as the pace of change is moving fast, the adoption is also equally synced is what I looked at. I mean, all of us sitting here may not have used a technology, but are very open to absorbing it as long as we see there is a use case for it in our organization. So indiscriminate talk of technology is something leaders should not be looking at. Leaders should be able to differentiate what technology, identify which technology, anticipate which technology, and then evolve themselves and their organizations which they are leading for adoption of the technology. Now, if we talk of Indian Oil, we are in oil and gas, and oil and gas as a energy space is undergoing a lot of transition. Lot of new technological interventions are coming in. We are today talking of digital twins. We are talking of new sources of energy, new forms of energy, which my manpower is not definitely being sourced for or hired for. So we are looking into nuclear, renewable, and so many other forms of energy. So in Indian Oil, we are looking at, if you ask for a use case, we are doing a lot of upskilling. Even if we are not that much into, we may be scaling up 10 years down the line, but we are looking at skilling our manpower right away in the space of renewables, in the space of biofuels, in the space of AI, because we understand that we have to catch it young and we have to move forward with the way the world is moving, because even if we need it after 10 years, my manpower should at least know what is the latest in the space of energy in the country and in the world per se. So that's how we are looking at. And we are using multi-pronged approaches for it. We are looking at certifications, we are looking at e-learning, we are looking at tie-up with academia. We're doing a lot of things to upskill our manpower for the future pace at which Indian Oil will be looking at.
Wonderful. You put very clearly that we manage technology, technology doesn't manage. That makes me slightly change the area. I always, a couple of times I heard Dwarka ji speaking, high tech and high touch. So in this high technology world, how does empathy, how does being humane, how do you manage performance as well as productivity as well as your relationship? How do you manage the whole dynamics, Anurag? Since you have spoken so much about technology, if you don't touch that, I think it is not appropriate. Yeah.
So my learning has been that empathy is not a contra word to performance, right? A lot of people start talking about empathy is a softer, in the softer domain. It's not a contra word to performance. I think it's a very, very strong skill that leaders need to have. I'll talk about myself. I mean, maybe easiest to give your own example. I come from consulting. You know, yes, my primary job over years has been to advise clients, but I also run a business. My job has been numbers, you know, revenues, collections, and over a period of time, I realized that my leadership style was also getting more and more focused on outcomes. My reviews and my people used to start telling me, Anurag, you run weekly rhythms with us, and all we are discussing is numbers. We are just discussing what's the needle movement from this month to next month. And I saw that resistance coming in. I also started people questioning that, Anurag, is it good use of everybody's time? I mean, you can as well aggregate data, you know, somebody should give you these dashboards. And the realization over a period of time has been that as a leader, that maybe is not a complete role. You know, empathy is a big word, but my realization has been simply that a much more powerful role is to focus on, you know, yes, being empathetic, understanding what are the challenges, what kind of bottlenecks are the teams facing that, you know, I can help remove, you know, what's slowing them down, you know, where is it that I can help. So just wanted to give that example. Just on a different topic, sorry, just go, if you allow me, Dr. CJK, to go back to the, you know, the conversation that was happening on technology. I mean, I was just enamored to, you know, hear the views, very different sector. My learning serving a lot of clients has been that definitely today HR has a very big role to play when it comes to skilling, upskilling, reskilling at scale. There is a framework that, you know, we figured out over a period of time that may be useful for everybody. So the challenge has been that we're a large organization. I know IOCL is a mega organization, Make My Trip is very large. And I had a client, the CHRO, and he was here in the morning, he's moved out. He said, Anurag, I have 13,000 people. I want to upskill them on AI, right? And the examples he was telling me exactly is what Amit, Yuvraj, Rashmi was talking about. He said, how can I do it at scale? The realization, Dr. CJK, was that actually a simple way of looking at it is that when you're looking at technology upskilling, just think of the organization as 4 personas, right? I'm simplifying it, happy to be challenged, but my learning has been just think about 4 personas. You've got some people who are ambassadors. So let's stay with AI. You know, the lead MD, the CXOs, the leadership team, when you think about them maybe 20, 30, 40 people, think about them that I need to strengthen their skills as ambassadors. You know, I don't need to teach them coding. Building confidence, understanding, they be able to promote, you know, technology usage, percolation of technology. Then there are a group of people that need to be thought about as translators. And these are functional specialists. So if you're taking AI in finance, in procurement, in HR, in operations, think about who are the 20, 30, 50, 100 people in that functional area whose job will be translators. They'll always be functional specialists, let's say finance, but need to be trained on AI so that they can apply, right? That's the second persona, which is translators. So they translate. The third persona has been people who are technologists. You know, so I'll always have, large IT departments, digital departments, people who are responsible for technology. I need to upskill them. There you need deep skilling. And those are the only people, to the point even Yuvraj was making, require deep skilling because you're really trying to help them understand underlying. And the fourth persona is aspirants, which is everybody else in the organization, right? If an individual doesn't fall into these, you need to look at that individual as an aspirant and you say, given my sector, my state of maturity with AI, I'm just taking AI as a anchor, what do I need to cover everybody else in the organization? I've seen it works beautifully across sectors when you're looking at doing it at scale.
I think it's a brilliant framework what Anurag is talking about. If I can add one more to this is that, I think we need to understand that learning as an adult is a very different behavior as compared to learning of a child and a youngster. Child has a very different way of learning. Adults have a very different way of learning. Everybody has a different style of learning agility sort of a thing. And after reaching a certain stage in a profession and a career, there's always a bit of resistance to learn things because if everything is going hunky-dory, why do I need to really get into something which can expose me sort of a thing as a general mindset, how it will operate. So I think that in our case, what we also try to do is that reward or recognize investment in self-learning. And when I'm saying investment, every time an organization will have a plan, few crores given for the carpet bombing of a program on a Six Sigma or a AI, everybody is coming there as a passenger and going to the program. You are sending people for different MDPs and program and all that stuff. Look at the whole behavior. As an organization in CGK, Yuvraj, Shrivastava, Amit and Rashmi are deciding that there is a program being done, all of you go as a batch and do it. It's the behavior which responds very differently as compared to a behavior wherein you say that, hey, are you investing? You are investing in changing your car, you are investing in changing your wardrobe, you are investing in changing the location where you go for a vacation. Can you show me that how much have you really self-invested other than taking some subscriptions in your own personal learning? Can you really create a culture or rhythm in the organizations like this wherein people are recognized for this? And we try to do some stuff around this. People went and did programs internationally for 8 months, 10 months. We rewarded them in a different way, looking at how the compensation needs to be looked at. And people were very happy. I said that you invest in yourself, I'll reward you based on how I feel it is better because finally it is going to stay with you. So I think that adult learning and the way people need to be changed in terms of learning also needs to be an important element on top of what Anurag was mentioning.
Great perspective. Due to proximity of time, before I move to the audience, I thought something let us touch on leadership because PRISM-FIMC was a great leader. We talked about looking outside, looking around, looking inside and looking beyond. And we also spoke about being empathetic, a person who is inclusive, who's people-oriented, at the same time achieve. How are you building leaders for the future in your organization? Any specific initiatives you have taken, looking at from here to next 5 years, next 10 years, you will be growing in size, so you need more people. You are an organization for 70, 80-year-old, so many people will be retiring. And at the same time, the treadmill is also running. Skills are changing, requirement is changing. How are you building leaders for the future? Quickly, if somebody can talk. Yeah.
So that's a very interesting question, that how we are building leaders. The way we look at it in Indian Oil, we consider every employee a leader in its own way. And why I will substantiate this is, what we are seeing is like we are working with 4 generations like you also mentioned. And each generation comes with a different sets of upbringing which has evolved them into what they are today, and they carry different sets of values. Now when you join an organization, you have an organizational value and an organization fabric with which you are trying to bring them in sync. So when we look at leadership, we are looking at leadership for the Gen Z, Gen X, Gen Y, all in different spaces. And see, for example, let me say that this generation we have seen texts more than talks. So we are seeing a gap in communication, which is again a very, very important trait of a leader, which we insist on. So we are trying to get this generation to be good, great communicators. So we focus on certain traits in the younger generation. Then we look at generation which is coming at the middle managers level. we see that, they don't inspire teams. So we look at first-time managers, we look at empathy, we look at what traits do we need to build in the first-time managers so that they are good at handling teams, and especially diverse teams, and especially teams which have a lot of maybe discord in the team. And then when you come to senior leadership, what are we looking at? We are looking at visionaries, we are looking at leaders who can, see what the future will lead to and what they can, kind of navigate the company to that future. So leadership is being looked at us by, in different ways for different levels. And for each level, we have very, very curated and very, very customized programs which will cater to building leadership at a very early age in our workforce. And that has stood in good state for us because we have been able to produce leaders which are doing not only well for the company, but even outside the company. We have a lot of examples where our people, because in public sector, people, hire to retire. So they grow for 35 years in the company, but if they are able to go to different sectors and lead well, that means we are doing things in the right direction.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. And due to paucity of time, let us take one or two audience questions and then we'll wrap up. Any questions, please? And not for the moderator, only for the speakers. Somebody has to give the mic to her.
Hello.
No.
Good afternoon to all the panelists. I'm Ritika Sharma and I'm from People Labs. And my question is, since we have discussed a lot about resilience, how can we create a safe space for the employees to discuss the challenges and the vulnerabilities and build a resilience through the shared experiences? So, do you want me to repeat the question?
No.
That's fine.
Amit will answer.
Okay, thank you.
I'll try and take an attempt at it. I think what you talked about is linked to what Anurag spoke about, and I'll add, it's about empathy and psychological safety. When you look at an organization, a lot of psychological safety and empathy, while they are supposed to be soft skills, are hard skills in today's generation. And they serve two purposes. Empathy and psychological safety enhances performance of an individual, team, and the organization, and it also helps the organization unlock a potential by providing the atmosphere for someone to perform at their best level and do their best job day in and day out. And that could be it. So that's my answer.
Yeah, in addition, little more was told. Create a space where there is no fear of failure, and one step ahead, also go one step for celebrating failures also.
Yes, sir. So, but there is another thing that we have seen so far, that there is a new concept of fear of feedback that we have seen in the teams usually, like in the Gen Zs or whatsoever, usually people do have it, the fear of failure. But usually what we observe nowadays is fear of feedback as well, which is coming up these days. So how does one deal with that as well, just taking it as just as a positive thing?
One question only, there is another question.
I'm so sorry, thank you, sir, thank you.
You have a paper, I am scared, you may have multiple questions.
Hello. Yeah. Thanks for the lively discussion. Question is to all of you. If you look at 2030, what are 3 traits that you think will be much sought for? And number 2 is one change in the organizational construct that you see happening in the next 5 years?
Yeah.
One change, what I am looking at is the learning agility of person is very, very required, because you do not know what will happen, okay? Things are happening so fast. So the learning agility, so that in all aspects, including, I talked about vision, structure, process, etc. Very quickly, how do you look at the environment? How do you look at the change? How do you change your structure? How do you change your processes? How do you move towards achieving the purpose of the organization? That is one thing which is very, very important. You can.
On a lighter note, I asked this question myself to somebody, and he said that, Anurag, the biggest trait now is staying calm when AI, Gen Z, economy updates itself every day. So that's the biggest leadership trait going forward. I think we've discussed a lot of traits, Ronesh. I think the speakers have talked about many of those. But if I was to look ahead, what is not going to change? I think core values that drive leadership, that I don't think are going to change. In fact, if you look 10 years back, 20 years back, 50 years back, and you think about the leaders that have stood out, I think you always look at some of the best leaders as people who had a set of values, and consistently decisions that they've taken, calls they've taken, you can see those values being the guiding principles. I think that absolutely remains the same. I agree with Rashmi ma'am, lot of talk about technology. There's no doubt about it. And maybe it's only going to only go more and grow more and more. So technology leadership, championing it, driving innovation in the organization, my sense is it's only growing. So as consultants, we always look at what's the competency framework of the organization. Rashmi ma'am was talking about, the framework they have in the 4 levels in the organization. One big change I've seen across levels is, now the criticality of core technological understanding, applying to your function, applying to your business, applying to your area of work. I think the third thing is agility or adaptability. The need for that, being able to maneuver the organization, guide people, help make sense from multiple structured, unstructured. Somebody used the word chaos.
Yeah.
I think those are 2 or 3 skills or competencies that are becoming more and more relevant. I don't know, 2030 is some time away, but at least what I see in frameworks in the organization.
Thank you very much. Let me try to quickly, I don't want to summarize everything, but we had a wonderful discussion. We started with resilience, then moved on to risk-taking, fear of failure, and how do you create not only fear of failure, but avoid fear of failure, how do you are going to reward and recognize failures for learning. Then we slowly moved into not only resilience for individual, we said resilience has to be for the organization. And then very nicely, Amit was telling that whatever chaos, but if the purpose is clear, automatically everything is aligned towards and do that. Yuvraj brought in that first to technology, first demystify the technology and then make it very clear, role-wise, identify what is required and then train them accordingly. And there are beginners, there are different learning styles. Accordingly, you ensure that they pick up those things. And learning agility and when we spoke too much about technology, it moved towards human. How the high tech and high touch is there, how human behaved the technology and the role of empathy it came. And very nicely it was brought out that how do you upskilling, we said group people, there are senior most people who are ambassadors, then there are translators, then there are technologists who have to really do the coding, and then everyone has to be done. Above all, then finally we move to how do we bring in the learning style, how self-improvement will be done. And very interesting discussion. Thank you very much. It was a wonderful panel and a wonderful audience because during the lunchtime you patiently heard. Thank you very much. Thank you, PRISM-FIMC Foundation, for this opportunity.
Thank you to our esteemed speakers for such an engaging and insightful discussion. We truly appreciate the perspectives and depth you brought to the session. I would now like to invite on stage Dr. Harivansh Chaturvedi, Director General IILM, to felicitate our esteemed speaker. Sir. Let's have a round of applause. Thank you, everyone. Thanks a lot. We'll now move on to our special address. Thank you. So we'll now move on to a special address by Mr. Andreas Emser, Dean, Frankfurt School of Finance and Management, Germany, on the theme, Responsible Leadership from a European Perspective. Over to Himanshu.
Good afternoon, respected dignitaries and dear guests. I am Himanshu Tiwari, a student of the Postgraduate Diploma Management, International Business.
And I am Pearl Johari, a student of PGDM. Together, we extend a heartfelt welcome to you all to this special session on responsible leadership from a European perspective.